Welcome to another Tea Time show with me, Mark Tillison. Today's question comes from Jack, who says, which keyword research tools should I use for SEO? Now this is a pretty big subject, so I'm actually going to split this into two shows. So the follow-up show to this will be once I've shown you all the tools that you can use to go and look at keywords for SEO. It's then important to understand, well, actually, what do we do with it? How do we analyse it? How do we use that data? And what decision should we make about which keywords to target with our SEO project? So make sure you subscribe right now so you don't miss that show next week. So we're having a bit of a cup of tea and we're talking about keyword research tools for SEO. So I'm going to run through in this video what keyword research is and why it's important for SEO. I'm then going to run through a few of the keyword research tools that I use. So that's Google, there's the AdWords Keyword Planner, a little something I need to tell you about the Google Traffic Estimator as well, which is really important. There are some tools in there, Ubersuggest, how you can use YouTube that you're watching right now, Google Search Console that we did a show just recently about how to use that for free keyword research for SEO, and also a new product, a new one that's on new to me anyway. So we're going to run through those today. So keep watching and we'll get through it as fast as we can. As usual, if you have any questions while I'm going on about this stuff, then do ask questions in the comments and I will do my best to try and get to those and help you if I can. So let's start with something really basic. Okay, I'm going to use the example today of an e-commerce store that sells fish tanks. Okay, so we can just go to Google and type fish tank. Okay. So Google is then going to automatically suggest popular search queries, keywords, if you want to call them that, that it is most likely that I'm going to be looking for. So fish tanks for sale, fish tank filter, fish tank film, fish tank ornaments, stand heater, gravel background. Okay, so those are the most popular, but that's not all of them. So you could just go space A. Okay, so now we've got accessories, we've got air pumps, we've got people looking to go to Amazon, we've got aerators, fish tank agency, whatever that is. I assume that's not actually anything to do with a fish tank, that's probably some design agency, but there we go. But we've still not got all of the A's, so we can go AA, nothing really there. In fact, there is AA, fish tank filter, fish tank parts. Okay, so we've got fish tank above pond, above fireplace, above water. So you can see what I'm doing here. I can, keep going. This is a huge subject, clearly. Let's have a look. A, B, and then obviously you continue and B, B, A, and you get the picture. So the quick thing to do there is highlight that, copy it, go and paste it into a spreadsheet, and start building yourself a list of keywords that you would consider that you want to attract traffic to. So that process takes quite a long time, but it will get you some very specific long tail terms. And by long tail, we usually are talking about multiple words in the keyword, very specific terms. And those very specific terms usually are very high intent. If someone is looking for a fish tank background 3D, they're much more likely to convert, assuming you sell 3D fish tank backgrounds, they're more likely to convert into a sale than someone just looking for fish tank backgrounds, okay? Or fish tank accessories, they might end up buying a background, but they're much more likely to buy a background if that's specifically what they're searching for. So just think about kind of qualifying these a bit more in terms of intent. So that's our first tool, very simple. Head to Google, start typing, see what the autocomplete is, and keep a big list of those in a spreadsheet, which we'll come back to later. As I say, next week's show will be about what to do with that spreadsheet. So that's our first and simple one. Heading into the second one, we can head into the Google AdWords Keyword Planner. Okay, so in here you'll need a Google Ads account. Sorry, I should have said Google Ads Keyword Planner because it's now called Google Ads. And in here we can type in a search query, a bit like we did just into Google itself, and it will start suggesting different search terms that we may want to bid on in AdWords. Or of course, remember this is Google search data, so these are search terms or keywords that we might want to optimize our site for SEO. So again, we've got various things in here. So fish tank, of course, that was our first query. Fish tanks for sale, we saw that one before. Small fish tank, okay? Higher intent than fish tank. I know I want a small fish tank. If you don't sell small fish tanks, you only sell big ones, then obviously you don't want to optimize for this keyword. So just qualify that a bit more. Okay, we're getting into cheap fish tanks. Okay, if yours are super duper uber expensive ones, then this isn't the keyword for you. But we are starting to get into some of the semantic stuff here now. So there are aquarium rather than fish tank. Okay, now I'm no fish expert, but I'm assuming they're kind of the same thing. So we need maybe to think about optimizing for aquarium and fish tank. And do we do saltwater or do we do freshwater? So we're starting to get into very specific keywords here. 10-gallon fish tank, 20-gallon saltwater fish tank, saltwater aquarium. So again, you can go through here, and this is quite neat. So you can head in here and start ticking the things that you want to include in your plan, in the keyword planner, and then we'll be able to export everything you've ticked into a spreadsheet and download it, which is great because then we can play with it along with those other terms we found using Google. Okay, so I ticked a handful there, and then we could just export those to that CSV file. So that's our second keyword research tool for SEO, the AdWords Keyword Planner. The third one I wanted to show you is rather like Google. YouTube has a predictive search that will tell you what people are searching for. So fish tank, there we go, aquaponics, air pump, air stone, aquarium and so forth. Fish tank, build, beginner, background. So some of these are not buying queries. These aren't people looking to buy things. Some of them might be. But a lot of them are how do I do things. You know, let's have a look at background. Okay, so background installation, background ideas, background paint, you know, these kinds of things. So some of these are shopping queries, some of these are lower intent, they're people looking for how to do things. So if you have a content strategy, there may be some search terms, some keywords in here where you think about creating content for those queries rather than trying to optimize your sales and your product pages for those. So that's our third SEO keyword research tool, which is YouTube. Use it in conjunction with the Google search queries and also the Google Keyword Planner. Now the next one I want to show you should save you some time. This one is the Yoast Google Suggest Expander. So the Google Suggest that I showed you before, what Yoast is doing here is scraping or accessing the API somehow, but going and pulling that data for you, expanding the query rather than you trawling through and copy paste and building that spreadsheet. The Yoast Suggest tool is essentially doing this for you. Okay, so let's have a look at fish tank, and you will see again broadly very similar things, although again we're seeing slightly different things here than we saw with the Google Suggest. So fish tanks for sale we saw, fish tank filter I think we saw, fish tank stand, that one wasn't in there. Fish tank decorations, movie, that one's from YouTube, wasn't in Google Suggest. Fish tank coffee table, that sounds quite funky. Fish tank sizes, fish tank table, and so on and so on. Then, starting to type A, as you saw me, this will then go into fish tank accessories, fish tank air pump, fish tank aerator, and with each of these, we can click on them and dive deeper into that keyword to see what variations there are of that. Okay, so now we can see expansions of that. So aerator stone, aerator not working, again that's a content query. Fish tank aerator and filter, that's more like a shopping query. What else do we have on here? Yeah, again, does my fish tank need an aerator? Better fish tank aerator, so I'm assuming that's a brand. Big fish tank aerator, battery powered fish tank. So we're getting into the semantics, into very specific terms. So again, if we just head back, we can just output a CSV, and each time with these, as you head into these kind of narrowing of your query, you can just keep outputting a CSV. So you end up with a load of CSV files which you can then go and pull into Google Sheets or Microsoft Excel. Other spreadsheet programs are available, but wherever you're going to manage that. And then of course you'll need to dedupe them. So the one thing I have found with the Yoast Suggest tool is it definitely seems to be kind of looking at US or global data rather than UK data. So if you are in the UK, just consider that a little bit. Again, with all of these keywords that you're pulling out through whichever SEO keyword research tool you're using, you can go and push them back through the Google AdWords Keyword Planner, which will give you an indication of the search volume each month, and that will help you decide how valuable that search term is. Okay, so next we're going to go on to Ubersuggest, which again is pulling data from the Google API, it's pulling it from AdWords, and it's pulling it from the Suggest. So we're looking at web queries, and I'm looking at English United Kingdom, and then Ubersuggest is going to go off and find me variations of that term, similar things and other suggestions from those two sources. Okay, so now we can see there are 201,000 searches across all these keywords. It's suggesting 924 of them, and this data is coming from Google Suggest that we used right at the beginning, and also the Keyword Planner. Now just a note on the Yoast Suggest tool and Ubersuggest, they are pulling data from that Google suggestion, that first method that I used, but they don't seem to pull all of it. Okay, so if you want to get really deep and dirty within this SEO keyword research and down into very specific semantics, the only real way to do it at that level reliably is to use that auto suggest, if you like, the Google Suggest itself. So you might start with one of these tools to do one of the a lot of the legwork for you and do the kind of top level stuff, but once you get down into semantics of a very specific page, you want to use that predictive search much more specifically, or another one of the tools that I'm going to show you in just a minute. So again, what we can do here, we can have a look at the keywords it's suggesting. So again, very simple, but we've got, this is something new, acrylic aquarium, acrylic fish tank, acrylic tank. So we got huge number of keywords in here, and we've got salt, we've got aquarium water, we've got sump, we've got substrates, we've got all sorts of stuff in here that we may or may not want. If you just sell fish tanks and nothing else, then there's a ton of stuff in here which is not relevant to you. My guess is if you sell fish tanks, you probably sell the plants and everything else that goes with them. So, work through these keywords, find what's relevant and what isn't. Now we're starting to see a bit more data with this research tool though. So we're now starting to see in this column some search volumes and also the likely cost per click in dollars, even though I'm looking at United Kingdom data. And then I'm looking at the kind of level of competition, 1 being the highest, 0 being the lowest. Okay, so that's the competition for AdWords or Google Ads clicks, and you'll generally find those with higher competition have a higher cost per click. It's an auction, that's what you'd expect, but that also would kind of apply to SEO as well, almost identically. So if it says high competition, it's competitive. Okay, more on that in the next show about how to kind of use that data, so make sure you subscribe and we'll talk about that next time. So that's our next tool, and again I think you can output to CSV here as well. So the next one I want to talk very briefly about, because I did a big video on this recently which we'll link to somewhere in the in the comments or something, or in the description for you, so you can go and find that one. But this is Google Search Console. So Google, this account exists whether you've registered for it or not, and Google is tracking which queries are leading people to your website through organic search. Yes, you can get the data from organic search, you just can't see it in Google Analytics. There's another show on that on the channel somewhere as well if you go and find it. So this is data for the last 3 months for the United Kingdom, where we are based. And these are the types of queries that have led people to our website, and we're getting, you know, the number of impressions, the number of clicks, the average position. So I'm looking in here for keywords that I'm already ranking for and looking for kind of quick wins. So things like this, Facebook agency, I might think about doing some optimization work around that to get us from position 8 to position 4 or position 3, where of course there's a lot more traffic. But that's you know, just a whistle stop tour. Check out that other video if you want the full detail about how to use Webmaster Tools, Google Search Console for SEO keyword research. So the last one I want to talk about is a new one to me actually. I was introduced to this just recently, and this is a site called Sonar, and Sonar pulls data from the Amazon API, so you can look at UK or US data, and rather like those other suggestion tools, it's going to give you suggestions based on your query. So I started with fish tank, I've gone into fish tank ornaments, and then it's going to give me some more queries on here that happen within Amazon. Okay, so remember, this isn't Google's data, so when you're talking about optimizing your website for organic traffic coming from Google or from Bing or from Yahoo, of course, and any other search engines there might be, we are talking about you know, some search data that comes from a different source. However, it's fairly obvious that if someone types in large fish tank ornaments into Amazon, but that doesn't come up as a predictive search on Google, that doesn't mean that nobody ever searches that on Google. So there's no harm in you kind of including some of this data in your list. You are getting very deep and dirty into the semantics of search queries and volumes as well. So again, you know, this works in a very similar way. So you start typing fish tank, and we can do, okay, fish tank plants. But remember, something that we've seen a few times is we have to start going into different kind of seed keywords, if you like. So we're talking about fish tanks, now we're talking about aquariums, which are, I assume, pretty much the same thing. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but pretty much the same thing. So if we're searching for aquarium salt, is that the same as fish tank salt if we're doing aquarium filter? But this is a whole other keyword set that you want to include in that now huge, probably huge SEO keyword research document. So you've probably got a big spreadsheet with hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of search queries. And again, in here we can start looking for, let's look at aquarium thermometer. Okay, so we've now got all of those suggestions from my seed keyword. We've got marine, tropical, glass with alarm, a stick-on one, we've got LCD, we've got LED, we've got strips, we've got pH, we've got all sorts of stuff in here that we can dive into, and we can see kind of words that are used with this. So we're starting to build up a huge list of keyword research for SEO using these tools. So just to recap, Google Predictive Search is going to give you very specific data and top-level stuff. The Keyword Planner is going to give you quite high-level data. Remember, it's Google AdWords keywords, so Google AdWords won't suggest everything. So think about using those multiple sources for quite thorough keyword research for SEO. Get those off into a spreadsheet. If you've got the volumes from the Google AdWords Keyword Planner, or maybe from Ubersuggest or any other sources, then try and keep those in there, and that's going to give you an idea of the monthly volumes in comparison to one another. The thing to bear in mind with those volumes is that they're not always accurate. So certainly that we have found on numerous occasions where the forecast might be around 1,000 searches a month and we get 5,000 or 6,000, or we get a couple of hundred. So remember, there are multiple factors. Bear in mind this is an average of the last 12 months, so if that product or search term has become more popular, then obviously this is looking back at the last 12 months average. So if you look at wedding searches for the last 12 months, because we've had a royal wedding, the average for the last 12 months is significantly higher than it's probably going to be over the next 12 months. So just think about that. But the easiest way to think about the search volumes is they are indicative. Don't treat them as an absolute. Don't think, well, if I'm number one for that, it's got 1,000 searches a month, I'll get 200 clicks. Because you may get more, you may get less. But as a ballpark and as a comparative study, comparing one keyword against another is about the best you're going to do. And that's the best way really to make your decisions about which ones are higher priorities as well. So in the next video, I'm going to show you how to then use that data to analyze it, analyze those search queries and understand which ones have which intent, which ones are going to be valuable to you, and which ones you should just discard or think about using as content keywords. So I hope you've enjoyed that. If you do have any questions, then please do ask in the comments, and I will do my best to answer those for you. Make sure you subscribe and catch next week's video, and that will help you understand more about how to actually use this lovely data